Okay, boxing fanatics. So there are reports that Dillian Whyte versus Dereck Chisora 3 is in talks for the summer, as reported by Mail Online. And yeah, what can we say about this? These two rivals have fought on two previous occasions. The first fight was very competitive. Dillian Whyte won via split decision on the judges' scorecards. Many people thought that Chisora deserved to win that fight, but generally it was a very close fight. In any case, yeah, White got the nod from the judges. Then these two fought again in the rematch, and once again another very competitive bout. Um, but thankfully, that time round, the result was a little bit more conclusive. White landed a really good left hook in the 11th round and basically knocked Chisora out completely. It was a fantastic knockout. Um, Definitely check it out. It's probably his best knockout of his career, to be honest. It was a brilliant knockout. And what's interesting actually is that at the time of the knockout, Chisora was up on the judges' scorecards, and I think even Chisora had like 2 points deducted or something, but still he was up on the judges' scorecards. Any case, we are now at the prospect of a third fight between Chisora and White. It's fair to say that, you know, all due respect to them, they've probably seen better days. White is 35 years old, Chisora is 39. White is coming off, some would say, a bit of a lucky win against Jermaine Franklin. I mean, again, another close fight. He got a majority decision. He got a majority decision on the cards, but a lot of people thought that Franklin done enough to win. Prior to that, he obviously fought Tyson Fury for the WBC title. We all know how White literally waited, I don't know, it was 1,000 days or whatever it was. He finally got his opportunity in front of a record-breaking, 94,000 at Wembley Stadium, and he got knocked out with an uppercut. Same uppercut he's been knocked out a few times. Obviously, you remember that knockout by Povetkin, the knockout by Fury, and also that knockout by AJ actually back in the earlier years as well. As for Chisora, he's coming off a loss to Tyson Fury. Funny enough, another trilogy, and yeah, it's fair to say that was pretty one-sided. I mean, it's fair to say Fury's still in his prime, whereas Chisora is nowhere near. And Fury had already beaten him quite convincingly twice before that, so it was no surprise to anyone. And yeah, Fury basically just pummeled Chisora for 10 rounds until the referee had enough and just decided to stop the fight. So, and what's also worrying is that Chisora, if you actually look at his box rec, he's actually lost 4 out of his last 5 fights. And you could say these are against decent opponents, obviously Tyson Fury. But obviously he lost also to Usyk, who's obviously another top world class fighter, one of the best pound for pound. And then he lost twice against Joseph Parker. Again, the first time against Joseph Parker was a bit controversial, but in any case, he still lost. In any case, if you look at his box rec, he's lost 4 out of his last 5 fights, and it just doesn't look very good. You do hear a lot of people in the boxing fraternity asking for Chisora to kind of retire now. He's 39 years old. He's had a tough career. He's had a lot of fights. He's taken a lot of punishment. But as his name suggests, War Chisora, it doesn't seem like he wants to yet. But in fairness, it could be argued that this fight is the perfect crossroads fight for both these fighters. I mean, I think both White and Chisora, they're both very unlikely to fight for a world title at this stage. So, it's possible that they're just both thinking, let's get one more, final payday before they hang up the gloves. And you can't blame them for that because boxing is such a brutal sport. And at the end of the day, you want to leave better off than when you came in, basically, if possible. And the reality is, even though this isn't, I guess you could say this is a bit like a nothing fight. They're not. It's just rivalry they're fighting for. But from the last 2 fights, it was very entertaining. The build up was very entertaining. So the reality is, this a third fight between them would do good numbers. It would probably allow a decent purse for both of them as well. So yeah, don't be surprised if Whyte Chisora 3 is announced soon. But one thing that could get in the way is potentially Anthony Joshua. I mean, Anthony Joshua. I mean, Whyte was the front runner to fight Anthony Joshua at the start of the year. There was a lot of speculation that Whyte would face Joshua. There was speculation that Joshua would literally come back against Whyte, even though he lost to Usyk twice in a row. There was speculation that Whyte would be the first fight back. For whatever reason, it's kind of funny how it's transpired with Joshua fighting Franklin this week. How Whyte fought Franklin, now Joshua's fighting Franklin. So that's the only thing that could, maybe sway this. I don't think there'll be an announcement before the fight because it'll be interesting to see what happens with Joshua this week. If Joshua still looks a bit shaky and doesn't win that convincingly, then maybe Eddie Hearn might actually decide that let's go with the Whyte fight because he's going to be less risk than taking on another top contender, and it might be another good way for Joshua to get his confidence back. So I do believe that Whyte and Chisora is dependent on what happens this weekend as well. If Joshua wins in devastating fashion, I think it's unlikely that he'll face Whyte next. He probably will go on to face someone a bit better. There's obviously talk about Tyson Fury potentially, Joe Joyce potentially. But yeah. And I think it's fair to say, look, Whyte and Chisora, they've done a lot for British boxing. They were kind of part of the era where British boxing was on the rise when Joshua was coming up. Obviously, Chisora has been around a while. So, if it's a third fight between, it's not the worst thing in the world. We are going to get entertaining spectacle. They both haven't got the legs they used to, and it's probably be quite an entertaining slugfest. To be fair, I just hope that soonish, they kind of decide to hang up their gloves and kind of leave the sport with their kind of faculties intact and with a decent purse. And kind of just ride off into the sunset. I mean, they both had decent careers. Neither have become world champions. And I think it's kind of a fitting way for them to face each other at the end as well, because that's probably one of the best. That's definitely their best rivalry. That's arguably one of the best heavyweight British rivalries we've had in the last few years. To be fair, they've both kind of. It's arguable they've both kind of competed at a similar level. They both had world title shots. They fought similar opponents. So yeah, let's see what happens. But yeah, like I said, let's see what happens this Saturday first. But yeah, who do you think would win that fight? A Chisora Whyte 3. I mean, at this stage, it's a bit of a pick'em. I mean, Whyte is about 4 years younger, and Whyte is obviously probably on better form. He's lost less than Chisora, but it's still kind of interesting. But anyway, let's see if that gets made. Thanks for tuning in, guys. As always, please like and subscribe. And yeah, catch you soon.